Chumash, page 940. So there's Moshe Rabbeinu is speaking to the Jewish people, and then it says like this. 3 lines from the top. By the way, did you guys do the Chazorah yesterday? Did you start on the Chazorah, on the review on Gittin?
Yeah.
You did. You started reviewing from the beginning of the. Okay, good. Okay, if you didn't, very well. Okay. Be'ever Yarden Beretz Moav, on the other side of the Yarden in the land of Moab, 3 lines from the top. Hoel Moshe Be'er es HaTorah Zos Lemar. Moshe started clarifying this Torah. Now Rashi over here says on the word Be'er, it's the right column of Rashi, about 7 lines from the bottom of the column. Be'er es HaTorah, Rashi says, B'shivim Loshon Pirsha Lahem. He explained it to them in 70 languages. 70 languages. Now, first of all, there is a halacha that on a Sanhedrin, so the Gemara says, page 940, and a Sanhedrin, for a Sanhedrin of 23, so 2, 3, or 4 of the judges have to understand 70 languages. And the first time we find this concept of 70, anybody remember, where do we find this whole idea of 70 languages somewhere in the Torah, where it comes up? Anybody remember what, Moshe? Yosef and Paro. That Paro, the Midrash says, he used to sit on his throne with 70 steps up, in each language that you knew. And I don't know that a language just means, parlez-vous français. They know how to say. I think the language doesn't mean includes the culture or the wisdom, whatever wisdom each particular language had. I'm not sure. Whatever it was, there were 70 languages, because there were 70 core nations. And Paro was sitting up on that throne, and Yosef was taught in prison the night before by the Malach Gavriel. Maybe some of you kids come sit over here so I don't have to twist in that direction. There are enough chairs over here, enough seats over here. Instead of sitting in the back, and doing cheat sheets, come sit, join us over here. So Yosef was in prison, and the night before, Gavriel, the Malach Gavriel, came to the prison and taught Yosef 70 languages, because then he's going to come out the next day to meet Paro. And when he comes to meet Paro, so Paro would say something to him, and each thing that Paro said, Yosef moved up a step. And if he spoke to him in French, he moved up. Spanish, he moved up. Portuguese, moved up. The Ebonics, he moved up. Whatever language he used, and Yosef moved up a step each gradually, till he was face to face with Paro. And at the point that he was face to face with Paro, Yosef started speaking Lashon HaKodesh. And Paro didn't know it. So Paro got nervous, because now Yosef knows one language. Can you imagine? Now Yosef he keeps answering, and all of a sudden he's face to face, all he goes, Vos macht Yid? Or he goes, Shalom Aleichem. And Paro, what? And so Paro got nervous, because if word gets out, then they're going to make Yosef the king. So Paro made Yosef swear that he wouldn't tell anybody that he knows one language more than him. Now that is going to be used by Yosef as a fallback position later on. When what happens? Yosef wants to bury Yaakov, dies, and Yosef wants to bury him in Eretz Yisrael. Paro doesn't want Yosef leaving. He's his finance minister. The economy is good. He isn't what do you call it, the Kamala crash, right? Which is what Trump has been calling her now, because the market crash, he called her Kamala crash, right? Yosef was good. Yosef had the market in Egypt, things were good. You don't want that guy leaving. You don't want that guy leaving the country. Yosef said, my father made me swear that I'm going to bury him. My father, I invoked a shvuah. I swore to my father I'd bury him in Eretz Yisrael. So Paro said, well, then do a release of the oath. So Yosef said, well, if I release that oath, then I'm going to release the oath that I made to you, that I wouldn't tell anybody I know one language more than you. So Paro said, you know what, go, have a great funeral. Yeah, it's a beautiful day for a funeral. Go. Right. At that point, he gets nervous. But that's where you see that 70 languages. Moshe Rabbeinu clarifies the Torah in 70 languages to the Jewish people. I don't know what that means and how he did it in one day. And not all the Jewish people knew it. On a Sanhedrin, 3 judges or 4 judges had to know 70 languages. 2 had to speak it. A third one had to understand it. They could understand all languages. It was a qualification for a Sanhedrin. Here, I don't know exactly what happened, but certainly there's a lesson here. What does it mean that Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching it to the Jewish people in 70 languages? What's the idea that Moshe Rabbeinu, when the Torah says, when they were on the other side of the Yarden, he taught them the Torah in 70 languages? What's the idea?
Because when the Jews spread out, they'll be able
Excellent. That means that the Torah is not limited to Eretz Yisrael. It's a message that the Torah is not limited. We are not a nation because of a land. We are a nation because of Torah. And when you leave Eretz Yisrael, there's going to be eventually a destruction, and you're going to go spread out around the world. It doesn't matter where you are. Wherever you are, there are going to be 70 languages. There's going to be French, and there's going to be Spanish, there's going to be English, and there's going to be Australian, right? And whatever it is, whatever language you speak, you're going to speak Torah. You're going to learn Torah in that language. Because Torah, we're not a nation because of a land. We're the only people that are not a nation because of a land. We're the only people. It's an amazing thing. The French are French because they're in France. And the Germans are Germans because they're Germany. Jews are Jews because they're in Jewland? Or because they're jewelers. They're into jewelry. Why are we Jews? We're Jews because of a Torah. We're the only nation. We're the only nation that are because of the Torah. So that's what the 70 languages are. Number one. Number two. Do you ever learn the Gemara? This is an interesting thing. The Gemara says Teiku. What does Teiku mean? So that is one of what Teiku literally means. Is the word Teiku means it stands. That means that the question in the Gemara is unresolved. But what they teach you in yeshiva is Teiku means what? Tishbi Yataretz Kushiyot V'Yibayot. That's what they all teach you, right? Even if you say it with an Israeli accent. It's an American accent, Israeli accent, what they all tell you. Tishbi Yatar, that's what Teiku, that's what we were taught Teiku stands for. That's not what Teiku means. Teiku means it stands, the question stands. One of the commentaries says, and by the way, it also happens to be, that's not why Chazal wrote it in the Gemara. They wrote it in the Gemara to say, Teiku, the argument stands unresolved. It also happens to stand for Tishbi Yitaretz Kushios Ve'ibayos. When Eliyahu Hanavi, who's called Eliyahu Tishbi, he will answer and he will resolve all of our doubts. He will resolve all the doubts for us. So it very, very nicely, fits into that. By the way, a man came to Rav Steinman, Rav Aaron Leib Steinman, and he said to Rav Aaron Leib Steinman, I just want to tell the Rav that I am Eliyahu Hanavi, and I would like you to help me reveal myself. I myself have met a couple of Eliyahu Hanavis over the years. Yeah, it happens. Once in a while you meet them. And so I've met a couple of guys. This guy came to Rosh Hashanah and he said, I'm Eliyahu Hanavi. So Rosh Hashanah said, really? Now, you should know that the Gedolim, they meet all sorts of people. They have all sorts of people they got to deal with. And so he comes in, I'm Eliyahu Hanavi. So Rosh Hashanah says, really? He says, yeah. You go, wow. I've been waiting to meet you for about 95 years. He goes, yeah? He goes, yeah, because when I was 5 years old, 7 years old, the first piece of Gemara that we learned is a Gemara in Eila Metzias, the second chapter in Baba Metzia. That's usually the first chapter that's learned in a cheder. And we were learning Eila Metzias, and the first issue in the Gemara is when a certain amount of produce scatters over a certain amount of area, is it considered lost and you can keep it, or is it considered that it belongs to the owner? And the Gemara ends the discussion with Teiku. And I've been waiting to meet you to find out what is the halacha, because the Gemara says it's unresolved, and now you're Eliyahu Hanavi, please tell me the halacha. I've been waiting 95 years to do. How do we pask it? The guy goes, I think I got to go right now. And off he went into the sunset. Right? So Teiku is often meant, it's a Shai, we're on page 940. Teiku is that's how I explain. Now, why am I bringing that up? Now, take a look at the Gemara over here. Look at this, is very cute. It's very cute. Take a look at the Chumash. The Chumash. Third line. Be'ever ayardein be'eretz Moav ho'il Moshe be'eretz Torah. Moshe started clarifying the Torah. So we're talking about clarifying the Torah, right? Look at that word ho'il, gentlemen. Moshe began clarifying the Torah. Take a look at that word ho'il. If you rearrange the letters of the word ho'il, guess what it spells? Eliyahu. Eliyahu. So we're talking about Torah clarification, and Teiku, it alludes to Tishbi, so Eliyahu, what do you call it? It alludes to Eliyahu, who's going to clarify the Torah for us. Okay, enough entertainment, let's go on. Pasuk Vav, Hashem, by the way, somebody once came to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Man came to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. He said to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, I'm the Mashiach. And, but nobody's going to believe me. I need you to spread the word. So now ask yourself how you would handle such a thing. If Mashiach came along, my first question would be, okay, what's going to happen on the market tomorrow? Okay, Reb Chaim Kanievsky had a slightly different approach. He said to the guy, really, you know, the Gemara says that Mashiach is going to have a donkey that has 100 different colors. It's made of 100 different colors. Do you have the donkey? So the guy goes, no. Reb Chaim said, okay, get a hold of the donkey. When you get a hold of a donkey with 100 colors, come back and we'll decide what the next step is. Isn't that brilliant? Isn't that brilliant? Isn't that brilliant? So you know, sometimes you got to know how to handle you know, you don't have to go, it doesn't have to be a frontal assault. Sometimes you could, you know, you could deflect it. A little tact and a little humor and a little tact, you could deflect it and make everybody happy. Now the guy walks out happy because Reb Chaim Kanievsky acknowledged that he's a Mashiach. He'll have to keep it under the wraps till he finds a donkey. Or till I find the donkey. Sorry, it wasn't. But it can't be me, I'm a Kohen. So I'm Elio. You don't know. So what do you call it? You know, a little bit of tact. Okay, take a look at Pasuk Vav. Hashem Elokeinu diber eleinu b'chorev lemor. Hashem spoke to us at Chorev, which is Har Sinai, and He said, Rav lochem shevas b'har hazeh. You've been here for too long, meaning you've been here long enough. Now here, it goes in two ways. That means the Jewish people are told to leave Har Sinai. Says Rashi on Pasuk Vav, Rav lachem, they were there for 11 months at Har Sinai. Rashi doesn't bring that down. They were there for 11 months. Now, according to one opinion, there's an implied criticism here. The criticism is that the Jewish people, when they left Har Sinai, they were ketino kaboreach min beis hasefer. When Chazal want to describe somebody running away from something, you're moving away fast. You know what they call it? Ketino kaboreach mi beis hasefer, like kids running away from school. You know, that bell rings and what happens? Yeehaw! School's over. You know, we're out of here. Summer vacation. It doesn't mean even a recess, just running out after class. And listen to how Chazal describes it. Don't get caught by a schoolyard, guys, at the end of the bell, when the bell rings at the end of the day. That's a dangerous stampede. Ketino kaborech, they got no better description. Chazal have no better description of somebody running away than ketino kaborech. And if you didn't do it, then I don't believe you were in school that day. I mean, by us, the school's out. When that bell rang, you know, remember the teacher always say, the bell is for the teacher. Do you ever hear that music? You know, the bell rang, you know, right? Do you ever hear that? The bell rang, the bell is for the teacher. So I remember a kid in school, we were outside the backyard playing baseball at recess, and the bell rang. And the teacher he comes out on the balcony, and we're in the middle of playing, nobody moves. He goes, boys, the bell rang. And one of the guys goes, you know, the bell is for the teacher. You that was well, it's a double standard. You know, in class, all of a sudden it's only for the teacher. But all of a sudden in the yard, in the schoolyard, no, that we're supposed to, oh, sure. So the what do you call it? By the way, as a parent, parents always struggle with this. You have a little kid, this is usually for little kids. With big kids, there's nothing you can do. But with little kids, your kids are playing outside. Mothers are always like, okay, guys, come on in. No, come in and eat supper. No, I want to, that sort of thing. Always with little children, you should pay me for this. I'm going to give you a golden piece of advice. With little kids, you always yell outside, guys, 3 more minutes. So on one hand, you haven't called them in yet. On the other hand, they understand that it's gonna end soon. So they themselves are starting to wind down. That usually results with one of the kids just giving the ball a good kick all the way down the block and then himself running inside so all the kids could get it. But if you just call the kids in right in the middle of the game, they're not going to come in. It's going to be a struggle. So if you got, guys, 5 more minutes, 5 minutes, and then you walk away. Then by the time 5, then they're already winding down. It works. So Chazal say the Jewish people are criticized. You were at Har Sinai. You were exposed to the, and they ran away from Har Sinai. And the description is, Ketino Kabo Brech Mi Beis HaSefer, like a child running away from school. That was as a criticism of the Jewish people. And that's why the Torah says, Rav lochem. Rav lochem means it was too heavy for you. You were upset about the responsibility that you were saddled with at Har Sinai. That's a criticism. I gave you a responsibility, and you resented it. You had to let's get out of here before they give us something else. Let's go. Ketino kabarech mibeis sefer. That is a criticism of the Jewish people. That's one approach here. The other approach is that the Jewish people didn't want to leave. They didn't want. It's to their credit. They didn't want to leave Har Sinai. Why? Why wouldn't you want to leave Har Sinai? The answer is, have you ever been in a what's it called? A bonfire. Not a bonfire, what they call at night when you sit around a campfire. You sit around a campfire and you're just kind of mesmerized by the fire, and you eat a toasted hot dog. You know, when some of the other guy's not looking, you take his toasted hot dog. That's the one that tastes really good, by the way. And you're sitting around, and you might toast a marshmallow, which is definitely overrated. That was that toasting marshmallow thing. I never got. They're always burnt. I'd rather just have the marshmallow. I don't know. There's nothing so great about that. And you're sitting around, you have a beer, or you smoke a joint, and you're just like, this is, wow, a campfire, and you're mesmerized. Chas v'shalom. And you just got, and then you got to get up and you leave. And you start walking away into the cold night. How does that feel? You just want to stay there. Klal Yisrael were sitting at Har Sinai. They just had exposure to Hashem's presence. The most spiritual experience, almost like L'cha Dodi on Friday night. You don't want it to end. Then it doesn't. You got to get back to work. Surely on my Shabbos, bad. You just want to sing it and be spiritual. So Klal Yisrael are true or not true? Especially if you're in Tzfas. So the Klal Yisrael are sitting there. They're exposed to this potent blast of ruchnius, spirituality. Now you got to get up and leave. We don't want to go. No. That's your credit. To your credit, you don't want to go, but that's not the purpose of man. The purpose of man is to have absorbed it and now go and apply it in the rest of your life and serve God by working. And therefore, Rav Lachab, that's why they didn't want to leave Har Sinai. You know what it's also like? You ever leave the movie, you're in the movie, and it's like one of these really touching movies. Not sad. It's just like, and all of a sudden the movie ends, and the lights go up. Like, ooh. You're just like, ooh. You were in a completely, right? You're like, and they've been playing music. And it's like, donk, lights. Like, oh, man, back to reality. And the worst was on Sunday night, because tomorrow morning school, right? That was terrible. Terrible. You walk out into the real world, somebody slashed your car outside, you got a ticket because you parked in front of a hydrant, and you're back to reality. And then you come home and you realize, you know what, the test I was supposed to study for, forget it. And you just get in your car and go to another movie. That's what Klal Yisrael was. That's what it was like at Har Sinai. So Rav Lachem is, to your credit, you wanted to stay here and experience the ruchnius, but that's not what life is. Life is now you're going to have to go and you're going to have to do the work yourself. Okay. Now, take a look at Pasuk Yud. So Moshe Rabbeinu says like this. Hashem hereby eschem, Hashem has increased you, has multiplied you. You are like the multitude of the stars. The Jewish people are compared to stars. This is the one I wanted to get to. The Jewish people are compared to stars. What is the idea of being compared to stars? So there are several ideas contained here. A kochav, the star, you look up at this, I don't know if you ever tried doing it. You look up, try to look at the stars. It doesn't look like there are that many at first. Then you start looking and then you notice that, there's more and there's more and there's more. And I know that science, they've just discovered some sort of a nova or a supernova, as if anybody knows what that means. And there are all sorts of black holes and all sorts of stuff, because they've got everything worked out down here. See, everything down here is there. Now we can worry about stars that are a few million light years away. That they work out. They got the big thing over in Seattle. What's that big thing? The telescope the biggest telescope in the world, so they could see all sorts of things and make all sorts of svaras, because everything down here is just hunky dory. So the idea of the Jewish people being compared to stars. Idea number one: HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the stars, and if there are millions and billions of them, and there are Milky Ways and Snickers and all sorts of Baby Ruth stars, all the stars that they got out there, and all these, the planets and everything else, not one of it is there without a purpose. And we say in the morning, Lekulam Shemos Yikro, Hashem calls each one by name. All the stars go, what does it mean called by name? Call the stars by name. There's the North Star, the South Star, that's about all I got. What do you mean a name? What's the name of a star? What is the name of a person? Remember we spoke about this many times. What is your name? A name is a description of what your role is in life. At some level, it's a description. Your name is a description of your abilities, your talents, your whatever, your responsibilities. That's what your name is. A star has a name means every one of those stars is serving a function and a purpose. We don't know what the function and purpose necessarily is, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu does. The same way that every star has a function and a purpose, the same way every human being has a function and a purpose. And your purpose is not his purpose, and his purpose is not my purpose is not your purpose. Everybody's got a role to play. So there's a guy came to Rav Shteyman. So this guy was the principal of a school here in Israel. By the way, if ever in life, if you ever have nothing to do and you want to grow old quickly, so become a principal of a school, right? So and if you want to grow even older quicker, to become the principal of a girls' school. So this guy was the principal of a girls' school in Israel. And you should know, in the religious world, schools are difficult, who gets into the school, who doesn't get into the school, and then you got to deal with parents, and you got to deal with students, and you got to deal with a board, a director. It's a grueling job. So this guy was a principal, and he was frustrated because the school was a lot of applicants. He didn't have enough room, and people are pressuring him, and parents want to get this guy. So he comes to Rav Shteyman, Zatzal, and he says to Rav Shteyman, "That's it. I've had it. I don't want to be the principal anymore." So Rav Shteyman says to him, and what do you plan on doing instead? He says, "I'm going to go and I'm going to learn in Kollel. That's it." So Rav Shteyman looks and he goes, "And what makes you so sure you're going to wake up tomorrow morning?" So he goes, "What? Yes, there, what?" So Hashem says, "Look, everybody has a role to play. You're a successful principal, you're playing your role. You quit being a principal, how do you know that Hashem still need you in the world?" Yeah, okay, all right, I think I'll continue. Very convincing argument. It's a very convincing argument. That means, yeah, everybody's got a job to do. Sometimes everybody else's job looks like a better job. I got tortured once as a kid because my father bought 2 chocolate bars. They were both Hershey bars. One of them was flat and long and wide, and the other was narrow and thick. And they were both the exact same weight, the exact same amount of it. He bought these 2 Hershey bars. And me and my brother had to choose which one we wanted. You want the flat one or you want the thick one? And I knew, I was certain that whichever one my brother takes is going to taste better. No matter what he takes, and plus he also had the really annoying habit in general, he had a very annoying habit of eating things slowly. By me, I just kind of inhaled it. But he ate it slowly. And I knew that no matter which one I take, the other one's going to look better. So why is that? Why is that? And it's like that in life also. If I buy a brand new car and you buy a brand new car, your car is going to look better than mine. That's the one I should have bought. And the only true or not true. And the only reason it looks is because, and if I'd be sitting in your car, my car would look better. That's human nature. So the Torah says, don't look at other people's roles. Don't look at somebody else. This is your job. This is your role. You have these abilities. You have these talents. This is your function, not his function. That's the first comparison to stars. The second comparison to the stars is that we are supposed to be, what do stars do for the world? They bring light. The moon, the stars together, there's a certain amount of light that comes from the stars. And Klal Yisrael are meant to be, and you've heard this expression, we're meant to be a light to the nations. We're supposed to be a light to the nations. What does that mean? What does that mean? What, in your own mind, what do you think a light to the nation means? How do you understand that? You've heard the expression, right? What do you mean? What does that mean? Bring simcha to the world. Simcha always is a good thing. Simcha is always a good thing. But what does it mean to be a light to the nations? What do you think?
We should be an example for them.
How do we become an example?
Morally.
Morally? Kiddush Hashem. What do you say? What's your name?
Yuda.
Yuda, yeah, but nice name. Yeah.
I think the same way like a star brings a light in the darkness, so too, as a Jew, we must bring light when the world is dark, you know?
And the world is pretty dark, isn't it?
Ethically, I believe.
Correct. Ethically, Kiddush Hashem. Good. All of you have, everything you said is correct. There's a mistake. People think that to be a light to the nations, we have to go out there. We don't have to go out there. The nations are always going to look at us. Believe me, they're focused on us. Yeah, everybody's looking at us. You got trouble in England. You got trouble in what do you call it, in Rwanda. You got trouble in Bangladesh right now. You got trouble all over the world. There's trouble. What's everybody worried about? Some Jew in Ramat Shlomo who just built another balcony on his house. That becomes international news because you're over the green line. Ooh, that's a here they're slaughtering people left, right, left, east, west, north, and south. He's blowing up people. Putin's shooting missiles, and the Ukrainians are blowing up people. And what's his name? Just had a rebellion, and in England they're beating each other up like crazy. But some Jew built a balcony. Right? Look out. United Nations Security Council meeting, right? We condemn. The condemned have condemned. So okay, why? Because they're all focused on it. All we have to do is behave the way we're supposed to behave. We don't have to go to them. The big mistake. They'll see us, and they see how we behave. And why do you mention Kiddush Hashem? There was a case in Israel. You know, they had a din Torah. They had a what do you call it? They had a, you know what a din Torah is? A Beis Din assembles and people come in and they have claims. So they have a din Torah. So one of the guys comes in, and the judge, the Dayanim look at him, and they pick up right away, this guy's not Jewish, this guy's an Arab. And they say, well, what's your name? Walid. Hi, Mr. Walid. He says, no, that's my first name. Hey, my Walid Khalidi. What are you doing here? He says, listen, I want to get a fair shake, and I know that if I come to a Torah court, that's where I'm going to get a fair shake. Because they know, they see what we are. They see what we are. I told you a story about the guy, this guy, I think I told you, this guy has his mother-in-law is visiting. And she says to him, she wants to go on a day trip. She wants to go to Meron, to Tzfas, up north for the day. She needs a tour. She says, I want a private cab driver. He says, there's someone, but not an Arab. So he says, okay. So he calls up the Arab cab driver, Musa, because he's cheaper. His friend Musa. He says, Musa, do me a favor. Take my mother-in-law up to Tzfas for the day. But do me a favor. Put on a yarmulke, okay, so she won't know. So Musa says, okay. And he picks her up. And sure enough, they go up to Tzfas. They spend the whole day. She comes back. And he says to her, he's a little nervous. He says, hey, Ma, how was the day? Oh, beautiful, terrific, really informative. Guy did terrific. Tzfas was really, really great. Because how did you like the cab driver? She goes, oh, he was such a nice man, and a Talmid Chacham too. Yeah, they got all the sprach, they know it all. There was a famous Arab bus driver in Yerushalayim. When Yeshiva guys would get on the bus, he would say, which yeshiva you go to? He would say, which yeshiva? Oh, Chevron. Oh, you're learning Baba Kama. He would, yeah, they got the sprach down. Yeah, for a couple of bucks, they learn quick. So it's this guy comes to a Jewish din Torah because he knows that's where he's going to get a fair shake. He knows what's going on. That's where he's going to get a fair shake. That's the second idea. The third idea is when it comes to the star, how big are the stars?
Infinitely bigger than Earth.
Infinitely bigger than Earth. Massive. And you take a look at it, what do you see? You see a little dot. See a little dot. If we would be able to get closer to it, every single star is immeasurably bigger than planet Earth. Planet Earth is not that big compared to the other planets. And if we could get closer to the star, okay. You're sitting in a room full of guys over here. I know, you got a shul, a bunch of guys on your bench in shul, a bunch of guys in shul. What do you see? A Jew, nice Jew, very fine Jew. The more you get to know the Jew, the more you find out he's not just a fine Jew, he's a super Jew. There is no such thing, and they talk about, oh, he's just a simple Jew. No simple Jew. No, it's simple. You know when you find out, unfortunately, you know when you find this out? When somebody's nifter. Somebody passes away, and then you go to a house of Shiva, and you hear people talking about the person, and you hear things, you go, ooh, I didn't know that. Really? He hasn't missed a Daf Yobi shir in 37 years? He used to stay in the shul at 12:30 at night putting away all the svar? I didn't know that. He supported 12 families financially with nobody? We didn't know that. What happens is we see each other. You see, do you know that this guy is daven? He davens every day. Do you know how many little old ladies he's helped on the street? Do you know how many times he's answered Amen Yehesh Rabbi? Do you know how many Mishnayos he's learned by heart? And what happens is when you see a Jew, he looks like, it's just a guy. So you get to know him a little bit more, and the better you know him, the bigger he becomes. If you could spend a day with Rav Moshe Feinstein, that's all. Spend a day with him. Or you spend a day with one of the Gedolim, by the end of the day, you'd be blown away. I heard about it. I had no idea. Do you understand what this man does in the course of a day? He does more in the course of a day than a lot of people do in the course of a lifetime. That's what a Jew is. He's a star. He looks like a little dot of light. Until you get, the closer you get, the bigger he becomes, as opposed to the rest of the world. Because in the rest of the world, you got all these celebrities and big names and really famous people. So you've heard of Mickey Mantle. Tell me you've heard of Mickey Mantle. Oh, heavens. Oh, good heavens. Moshe, you've heard of Mickey Mantle? Moshe, say it ain't so. That was Shula's Joe Jackson, right? You've heard of him, no? Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so. You haven't heard of Mickey Mantle? All right, you're a foreigner, so I don't care. You know, South Africa, Nas Burta. Yeah, the him you've heard of? Nas Burta? Huh? You never heard of Nas Burta? He played rugby. You never heard of Nas Burta? Nas Burta. He was. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You thought I made that up. Thank you very much. How about Carlos Spencer? No. He played for New Zealand when they thrashed the what do you call it? The Springboks. Carla. How about Jonah Lomo? Yeah, that we've all heard. Okay, there we go. Now we're good. Now we're getting there. Mickey Mantle was an American hero. You never heard of Mickey Mantle? Eli Yochana, Tov? Eli Yochana. No, good. Oh, Yeshivat Ohr. Never heard of an Israeli soccer player. So Mickey Mantle was, you ever heard of Mickey Mantle? Okay, Yankees, Babe Brother, anyway, okay. Mickey Mantle was an American hero. So Mickey Mantle used to go out with his buddies, and he brought his wife with. And he held a chair for his wife, and as his wife sat down, he pulled the chair out, and she went sprawling on the floor. And the rest of the guys started laughing. Could you imagine one of the Gedolim doing that? Can you imagine a Rav doing something like that? This is an American hero. And then it turned out later on that Mickey Mantle had been an alcoholic even through his playing career. How do you like that? Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth, the American hero, Babe Ruth. He was one of the most out-of-control people you could possibly imagine. All these famous people, these guys, then you find out John Kennedy, the personal life. You know, it left something to be desired. Why? Because they look big. They look, whoa, big, famous, wow, there's a guy. Then when you get to know him up close, what do you find out? Oh, low life. A crumb. Can't be trusted by his wife. Can't be trusted by his friend. Can't be trusted by anybody. The country's supposed to trust him. Joe Biden with Smiley Joe, that's my. Behind the, what do you call it? Behind the scenes, he wasn't like that, they said. Behind the scenes, he was very impatient with his staff and very, 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 what do you call it? Not the nice guy he looks like with his aviator sunglasses over there. And all of a sudden you find out it's not what he looks like. I got nothing against these people personally. I don't care about these people. But I will tell you a medrash. There's a medrash that says, Paro the Gemara says, Paro was 1 amma tall. Did you ever hear that medrash? You know how tall the Gemara? The Gemara says Paro was 1 amma tall. You know how tall an amma is? About 18 inches, call it 22 inches. Paro, the emperor of Egypt, could walk under this table without bending his knees.
He was a midget.
I mean, he's an emperor. Midgets don't usually do well. Midgets don't usually do well. In America, most presidents, the taller guy usually wins. And not only that, in America, the guy with the better head of hair wins. They've done studies on presidents, which is why the better head of hair. Yeah, which is why I've never been elected. But in America, the guy with the better head of hair wins. These are really, that's important for running a country. Do you ever see what the Gedolim look like? Rabbi Akiva Eger was about 4'9". Rav Leib Steinman was about 4. He was tall. He was 4'11". Rav Moshe Feinstein dwarfed him. He was about 5'1". These are the Gedolei Yisrael. And here you got Paro is an amma, and he's an the Gemara says he's an amma tall. It's a Gemara, it's not me. It's the Gemara says. And not only that, there's a medrash. The medrash says King Nebuchadnezzar was katan kikad. He was the size of a jug. I guess him and Paro, they played one-on-one all the time. I don't understand. These are the two most powerful monarchs in the ancient world. To be a monarch, what do you have to do? Be able to bite the other guy in his knee. Oh, I got the advantage on him. That's how you become a monarch. He was never expecting that. Everybody around him is limping because he got him in the shin again. Right? How did you become? They thought you were a monarch? That's why you qualified to be a monarch? What did that mean? What did that medrash mean? I wasn't sure. You know when I found out, when I figured it out, I was at a Sheva Brachos of somebody who himself was involved with a lot of celebrities. When he got married, he had a Sheva Brachos, and he became a Torah Jew. He became frum. And he had been in his previous life, he was involved with a lot of celebrities, a lot of big names. And I remember when he got up, he spoke at his own Sheva Brachos, he said, these people, world famous people, he says, when you get to know them up close, they're really very small people. When he said that, the coin dropped. That's when I understood the medrash. You could be the emperor of the world. You could be a Nebuchadnezzar. You could be a Paro. You rule the ancient world. Yet anybody who knows you up close, you're really a very small person. You can take a person like Donald Trump. If he becomes president, if he does, I don't know if he will, he was once president. Anybody up close to him will tell you that's a small person. That's a little person. And the more you get to know him, the smaller he becomes. The more you get to know him, the smaller he becomes. Torah Jews, any Torah Jew, not just the Gedolim, is a star. Because what I'm looking at is a person. I don't know how much Torah you've learned, but it's a lot more than I think. I don't know how many times you put on tefillin, it's a lot more than I think. And a person becomes bigger the more you get to know the person. That's why Klal Yisrael compared to stars. Okay, tomorrow we're going to continue with one more thought on this, and then we're going to go on to the rest of it. It's Hashem.